What is happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. In this episode, ultimately, we'll be previewing Game Week 22 as Premier League action returns, but also there are some things to discuss before that, such as reviewing both Carabao Cup semi-final first legs. Some big games they were, and they did deliver in different ways. So we'll be reviewing both of them, two great games. And also, since the last episode of the podcast as well, Michael Carrick has been appointed interim manager at Manchester United, which of course is a big talking point. Let's introduce my panel then one by one. Ben, welcome back on. You support Liverpool and part of the Red or Alive TV channel. How are you doing?
A lot better. We're not losing at the minute, so that's a start. No, but I'm glad to be back on, mate. And I won't hold you up because there's a few to go through. But happy to be back.
No worries. Great to have you back. So thank you very, very much. Ollie, great to have you on twice in quick concession. Of course, founder of the Simply AFCB page. Just talk to us about that and thank you for your time.
Yeah, hi. So I run Simply AFCB, just a Bournemouth page. I talk all things Bournemouth, talk about football all the time because I just can't stop talking about it. But glad to be back. Really excited to get going with this. Looking forward to it.
Should be good. Ollie, thank you very much for your time. Louis, welcome back on. We've recorded quite a few things, haven't we, in the last 2 or 3 days. And the London derby between Tottenham and West Ham literally must be sick at the sight of seeing me. But thank you nonetheless for your time. How have you been doing?
No, it's all good. I'm glad to be back. Any excuse to talk about more about my club whilst I can, whilst we're still in the league. So it's good to be
here. Brutal, but probably fair. Louis, thank you very much. And Cam, welcome back on. How are you doing, Spurs fan?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Thank you. I'm glad to be back on here as well. I know I'm new to all this, but yeah, I'm glad to be back on again. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No worries at all. And of course, Cam, you're back on the Spurs pod after, as is Louis as well, being West Ham at Tottenham play. So we've got back-to-back podcasts for us. So it should be good way to start this evening as we cover a more variety of things. But stay tuned because I said there a lot to discuss. If you're listening on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. Get involved if you're listening live. Let us know how you feel right now supporting your team. Let us know what team you support firstly as well and where you're listening from. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are listening or watching. But let's get straight into the action then, because I want to review both games because it's just the first leg. That's what's important to note, that both games aren't over yet. A lot still, of course, can happen as with anything. But the first game was at Newcastle and it ended 2-0 to Manchester City. So Ben, starting with you, what were your thoughts on this game? It feels like City are halfway there already, where they are literally, but they just feel like they've taken a ginormous step to get into the final.
I think we can tell what the final is going to be, in my opinion. Now, I think quite telling both games, but especially this one. I expected a bit more from Newcastle, mate. To be honest, I think they've had a disappointing season for me. I know they won't like to hear it, but they're certainly missing a certain number 9 up front. That they caused a big argument with us. I definitely think they are missing them. There were some big chances for Newcastle actually that they just can't put away. I'm not a big fan of that Wisa that they've signed, to be honest. And I can't understand how Eddie Howe didn't start that Walter Marder. I think he's been one of their better players, but City came through. It was a bit flat, to be honest. I was a bit bored watching it. Maybe a bit jealous because I wish Liverpool didn't throw their tie, because any cup's a good cup, innit? At the end of the day, and that's something we all laugh at Arsenal about, not winning cups. So I had to throw that in there for you, Harry. Go after the Gunners. No, but I think there's only one winner in this tie, in the second leg especially.
Not looking good for Eddie Howe or Newcastle. As you said there, some strange decisions to rest certain individuals, such as Harvey Barnes and Nick Voltemada, questionable in a game of this size. But of course, I know that the league and other things that are priorities for Newcastle, but that's the problem for me. And I've talked about it so much in football, and I want to come across the right way about it because I think it's serious. Newcastle win their first trophy. I think they approach this differently because they've won it. I think, make no mistake about it, they hadn't won this trophy, they'd be going all guns blazing, and rightly so for this. I just think clubs get a little bit entitled, a little bit greedy when they get over the line, and Spurs, the latest victims, my club, of that. I think after winning in Bilbao, the instant expectation on Thomas Frank and the boom, why are we not winning now? I just don't like. I think you have to have standards and expectations, but entitlement is a whole different thing. But thank you for kicking us off there. I won't open that kind of rabbit hole or can of beans. But Ollie, can I get your thoughts on this game and Man City's win. It just felt as well, didn't it? That second goal they got, because it happened so late in the dying seconds, that felt key. I looked at that and thought, that's probably taken the tie. Of course, not mathematically and not completely, but it's made it very difficult, let's just say, for Newcastle.
Yeah, I think it has. I think, as Ben said, it was a bit of a flat game, to be honest. First half, not much really happened, and it was it was good to see Semenyo got his goal. Yeah, the goal at the end there, I think summed up the position that the tie's at. It's going to be a tough task for Newcastle to go to the Etihad and make a point there, because I don't see any way back for them. It's just not really working for Newcastle. Obviously they're doing they are doing enough during the season to get some wins and some results, but this kind of sums up where Newcastle are at the moment, and I just don't think they're good enough that they can't compete with the top teams where they have been able to previously. And yeah, as I say, it's going to be tough for Newcastle to get back into it. Second leg, I think it could be over, to be honest. It'll be a very, very tough for sure. But City are very good. I think City are amazing at the moment, brilliant form. And they've made up for the previous draws they've got in the Premier League, and I think they'll be back in form again. So I don't think it's the worst loss in the world for Newcastle to lose against a brilliant City team, but you can say I think they could have done better.
I think they agree with that, falling apart really in the second half. You felt a half-time 0-0 that they were doing okay in the game, competitive, but what happened at the half-time team talk? We'd love to know, and how much of impact that had in a negative way, or was it just purely coincidence that they got worse in the second half? Ollie, thank you. But Louis, as Ollie mentioned there, Semenyo got that goal. I mean, he started his Man City career in a real positive way, and he took his goal well.
He has, yeah, he has. But I mean, I don't think it's really a surprise. We all knew how talented he was anyway. He was doing it at Bournemouth, and he's doing it in the same league at a different club. He's a top player, and I don't think anybody had any doubts to that. He's sort of just continuing where he left off against. I think for this game, for me, one of the biggest things was the starting squad that Newcastle put out. I think it made 7 changes from their last game. I'm not entirely sure. I think it was 7. And they played such a weak squad. I know they've got really bad injuries at the moment. Livramento's got injured again. He's out for quite a while. But, City also had injuries. If you look at City's defence for their starting squad that game, it's nothing near their full capacity. And, I mean, it hasn't been brought up yet, but I'm sure it will be a conversation to discuss. Will obviously be the VAR decision. I mean, I think Newcastle will be sitting here and they're probably happy it's not more than 2. They had 2 shots on target at St James's, which is really, I think, really poor. A lot of times Newcastle have struggled this season, but they've said, it's okay. When we go back to St James's, we'll be all right. Well, the crowd will get the players going, and it didn't happen. I didn't see that fight that they had. If we look at, I know it was a while ago now, but if we turn back to the time when they played Liverpool at St James's, we saw the fight that they had to get back into that game. They had that spirit to get back in. Against City, I didn't see any of that. And I feel as the season has gone on, they've slowly started to lose that spirit. They're doing all right in the Premier League. They've got their form back up and running after a few bad weeks. But I feel like that fighting spirit the players used to want to have is now slowly dying in these crucial moments, and that might cost them.
I think you hit the nail on the head, if I'm honest with you. That just fight. I think Newcastle have the fight, but maybe not in these key moments. That's the issue, I think, honestly. Big issue right now for Eddie Howe. And he, every time he kind of, gets those haters or doubters is a better way of putting it off him, it comes back with something like this, and Newcastle fans go, really? We're in the game at half time. Why has this gone wrong? Why are we losing this is one thing, but playing the way we did and allowing City to give themselves a huge advantage that second leg. I did think that Newcastle would get a result out of this, if I'm honest with you. And it was one of those you felt before the game a draw wouldn't be enough. If I'm honest with you, for Newcastle, it had to be a win, and they haven't even gone and got that. And as you said, a lot of you have said City are a good side. It's important to note, but 2 goals for Newcastle is not something they would have imagined or wanted to see, I'm sure. And Cam, I'll come to you. Louis right, we definitely do have to mention, that was my plan, about that VAR decision, which is interesting to disallow Semenya's goal. So what did you make of that decision? I personally couldn't understand it. I still don't really now. I absolutely no influence on the goalkeeper, in my opinion, and little influence on the defender. I just think Haaland, right, offside or onside, sod that. He's not doing anything. He's just standing there. You might as well be a stickman or a scarecrow because he's doing literally nothing, in my view. And I think if he gets to this point in football, and it's happened drastically in my lifetime, where you stand here and you're doing something wrong by being offside or, interfering, then I just don't know what the rules are anymore. So what are your thoughts on this? I've had a couple of referees that have, come back, one that comes on the podcast and tried to explain it, but I think they're fighting a lost cause in my eyes.
Yeah, I would have loved to know what the VAR were talking about in that room, to be honest, because I mean, me, if it's not clear and obvious what the possible issue is with the goal, then I think it has to stand. I think we know that by now. I really don't know why it didn't stand. I think Newcastle should be really happy it wasn't too. Yeah, I thought it could have been way more from City. I mean, I know that Newcastle have been hit with injuries, but so have Man City, especially with their defence. They were playing a kid they've just recalled from Watford, Max Lane. So yeah, there's no excuses for Newcastle, in my opinion, especially at home as well, because we know that, that they're meant to be good when playing at home. They have been. They were last season. They were the season before. I just don't think they've been up to it this season. And, I think they've got to be happy that it was not more than 2-0, because I think when you have players like Semenyo, like Cherky, that can punish you, and I think, that last goal that Cherky scored, I think, that's a blow for Newcastle, because although I think it's going to be quite hard for them to go to the Etihad even 1-0 down and try and get a result, I think now that it's 2, I think, we're 99% sure what the final is going to be now. So yeah, I think poor from Newcastle.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Thank you, Cam. So just read out a few comments. Big up to Ryan State B. He's a Newcastle fan. He says, Newcastle fan here, same pattern all year. Not taking advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, he says, as a Toon fan. He goes on to say, though, that being said, Semenya, and they had another centre-back who shouldn't have played. Fair enough, yet new rule change. Going on to say, to be fair, I can absolutely respect his opinion as well, because he goes on to be really honest, saying that VAR decision to disallow that City goal was unfair. He says that he should have stood. Big up to Jimmy Hotspur, says big up everyone, and good evening, and big up to Ben, of course, as well on the panel. I mean, Cam, I'll stick with you because I asked you that initial question there on Semenya. So, and his goal. I mean, there is an argument, and a very, very strong argument, that he shouldn't be on the pitch. That was the argument that Eddie Howe was putting across beforehand. It feels like it's been talked about even more and even sweeter for Man City and even harsher for Newcastle and Eddie Howe. The fact that he scored in this game, of course, they got their own back a little bit with this one being disallowed. But in your view, we know the rules, that it's now because it's changed, it's fine. So there's nothing to discuss there. But in your view, do you like the rule change or not?
Nah, in my opinion, I don't really know why they've implemented this rule, to be honest. I mean, I think Newcastle, they're going to find that game harsh, to be honest. I know they conceded that goal at the end. It was 1-0 majority of the game. I think the 2 goals they conceded were both quite poor. And yeah, I mean, I can see where Eddie Howe's coming from, but I just feel like, every loss they have, Eddie Howe always has an excuse, in my opinion. I mean, I can see why. I mean, their season's been, very underwhelming. I know that, they've been very, very unlucky, in my opinion, with these injuries and with how their season's going at the moment. In my opinion, I don't like the rule personally. But yeah, that's football, in my opinion. I think you have to get on with it. And yeah, I think, Eddie Howe's side's got to do better.
Fair enough. I think that's very fair. Struggle to disagree with that. Chelsea and Arsenal, then, the Gunners getting a 3-2 win at Stamford Bridge. 5 goals and a crazy game. Ben, of course, Liam Rossina's first major game, let's just say, in charge of Chelsea. That win against Charlton would have been good on the eye, great for Chelsea fans, but it's not significant in any way, shape or form compared to this one. So firstly, on Chelsea, how do you think they fared? Because there are times in the game they looked really good, but maybe self-destruct. There are also times in the game when the substitutions are made that they looked really positive and you could have got something out of the game.
They're a strange team, Chelsea. Got some half-decent players. I think the manager's a strange character, to be honest. Says a few weird things. I I just don't know where they're going to go with him, to be honest. It's a strange appointment for me. He kind of seems to me, before I go on to the game, he seems like an interim for me. I can't see him lasting at Chelsea. I think they need a much bigger personality.
Well, he's got a whopping contract. I can't remember how long it was, but it's a huge contract Chelsea'd love to do.
Moving from their sister club, though, isn't he? So to them, it's, you know, it is what it is. Let's be honest, it doesn't matter who it is, to get rid of them. So I'll be surprised if he's there within a year, to be truthful with you. And certainly the things that he says, very strange, odd character. Yeah, Chelsea, they'll be a bit pissed off with that, because I think they're going to find it hard going to beat Arsenal at the Emirates. Arsenal are a team. Look, they can't start to concede goals. I think we spoke about that last time, Harry. They're conceding a bit more goals. But one thing for sure is they don't seem to get beat. That's the problem. They can draw games, etc., but they're not really losing. Gyökeres gets his goal. Another one who's had an up and down start. I think Arsenal will be really pleased with that, because I thought Chelsea could have done something last night. I thought they'd get a bit of a manager bounce. Look, they played okay, but they'll be disappointed with that, because you've got to at least win your home game. And I think they're going to find it really difficult at the Emirates. Most teams do, because Arsenal they're a tough team to break down. Now, you're basically asking Chelsea to go and have to put it on Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? And Arsenal will just sit in there. And they're a good defensive side, Arsenal. As I said, I think they're at times a bit toothless when they go forward. You know what I mean? The manager makes some odd calls, I think, Arteta, with regards to his game plan. Like, for instance, when we played them the other day, we didn't go there with the forwards, and we were the one attacking them. So yeah. I think he needs a final. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be looking at just get to the final, and I think he's going to get in there against Chelsea. I think Chelsea will find it difficult at the Emirates. So for Arsenal, they'll be pleased with that. Maybe not the best performance, but they're just ticking by, aren't they?
They are, and that's the frustrating thing for many of us. Let me tell you that. But Ben, I think you're spot on. The only thing I will say to you, Ben, though, is that, and I didn't really know. Well, I knew that Chelsea had players back, but didn't realise how many. They've got key players to come back, they hope, in time for that second leg. Cole Palmer, Casado, just to name a few. You're right in saying they've got a real task on their hands when they go to the Emirates. I just feel Palmer in particular. That's the part. Yeah, I can see them keeping them out, but that's the thing. Can they break them down? Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's breaking down.
He's just going to have them sat tight. Arsenal. They may nick the odd goal or two. Obviously, they've still got some top players, haven't they, Arsenal, with regards to Saka, etc. But I mean, Chelsea have got to be the ones to go there and win. Do you know what I mean?
But do you think they can? I know you say you don't think they can, and I probably do agree with you if I'm honest. But do you think they have a little bit of a chance, at least, with Casado and Palmer back? Can they take the fight to Arsenal?
Potentially, but I just think if you're looking at the grand scheme of the two clubs, Arsenal are in a much better position, aren't they, as a whole? A bit more stable. No one knows what Chelsea are. That's part of the problem. You know what I mean? They're too hot and cold. They can have a good performance and then they get beat. I think Arsenal see that as they're pretty much for me in the final, and I think they probably think that themselves.
Okay, that's fair enough. I can't disagree with that. I think you're all speaking a lot of sense and saying the right things. I agree with all of you so far, Ben. Thank you. Ollie, coming to you. Garnacho making the impact for Chelsea off the bench with 2 goals. So not enough to get anything from the game for Chelsea, but that will surely excite Chelsea fans a little bit. But also for Arsenal, I mean, what are they doing from that set piece that Garnacho scores? He's unmarked along with 2 others. And if you're going to be set piece FC, at least learn how to defend them properly, right?
Yeah, I think with Arsenal, I think their defending can be quite inconsistent, and obviously they play a lot of risks. They are quite a risky team at times, and then other times they're not. And I think it does prove that no matter how good Arsenal are, they still do make mistakes, and I think they still will. Just like City do, really. There are mistakes in their play, and it has given Chelsea a bit of a lifeline. I will say that. I think going to the Emirates 3-2, I don't think that's impossible to get something from it. And I think Chelsea were positive as can be. It's obviously Liam Rosenior's first game against a Premier League team as manager of Chelsea, and he did okay. If I was him, I'd be like, I'd be pretty okay with that. I don't think they had the best performance considering it is at Stamford Bridge, but I think he'd be happy. But it's not ideal. But Arsenal are a tough team to beat, and I think that's obvious. But they are prone to mistakes, and Chelsea have to play to that at the Emirates, I think, to progress to the final.
Thank you very much, Ollie, for that one. Thank you. Louis, coming to you and focusing on some of the goals. So Victor Gyokeres got that goal. Do you think he can really kick on from this now? Does it feel like a significant moment? Of course, context is important. I was listening on the radio and it was, Gyokeres, what a super goal. I thought, what type of goals he scored? And then I saw it back and it's a glaring mistake from Sanchez and a tap in from Gyokeres. Listen, it's not just me being a Spurs fan. Credit to Gyokeres, right? Striker gets a goal, they push on. And I think he will push on from this, but wasn't a wonder goal.
No, it wasn't a wonder goal. The problem I have here is look, we can't be silly, we can't be blindsided. He's a good striker who scores goals. That's simple. He did it at Sporting. He's done it in his career in the Championship. He's a great player. I think he has the capability to reach top levels, which he's already done. The Portuguese league isn't exactly quite easy because he was also performing in the Champions League that year. It's more so the biggest issue is he's not had a good kickstart at Arsenal, and similar to Isak at Newcastle, he wasn't just integrated into that Newcastle team. The Newcastle team was molded around him. This Sporting team was molded around Gyokeres. If you look at the amount of goals other Sporting players scored that season, it wasn't many. He was the outlet. He was the goal scorer. He was everything. At Arsenal, they don't play like that. And I think that's going to be his biggest issue at Arsenal.
See, I agree with you. The only thing I would say, though, if I was playing devil's advocate for the sake of it, is that if you go right down to the bottom of the Portuguese league, where teams get 2 or 3 points worse than Wolves in a single season, which did happen last year, and more than one club as well getting that kind of single-digit tally. I think that if you go right down, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I think you go right down to the Portuguese league, the bottom I'm talking about, just the 2 or 3 in particular, I think that they wouldn't be in the Championship. In the Premier League, I think they're that bad. There's such a gulfing difference between first and last in the Portuguese league that it'd go over at least 2 divisions if it come to England. And I think that, of course, their league bigger and etc. Gap in teams because Gyokeres, about 80%, I think, just under of his goals come against the bottom 5 teams. That's great and all that. Would they be in the Premier League? Would they be in the Championship? I don't think so. That's my only thing. Having said that, you can only score what's in front of you. So, Louis, what I would say to you is, do you think that he can take that step up? And you're right, he did perform in the Champions League. I think that's because the confidence he carried from his league form. But can he produce these numbers for Arsenal where there's going to be A, greater expectation on him, and B, he's playing tougher opponents? Because whether we like it or not, and Wolves are now proving this after a disastrous 2025, they're not awful. They've not had a good season at all. But they're still like the defenders, like they look shambolic sometimes at the back. But Gyokeres is still going to struggle against them. So the point is, can he cope with playing tougher oppositions and better managers that coach teams better?
No, the simple answer is no. That's a simple answer. And to go into it, it's more he needs a run of games where he needs to score a goal for the next 5 games. He needs a Calvert-Lewin-esque run to build up some sort of confidence to strive on. We saw, I do agree with you with your point about his goals in the lower teams. I mean, look at Ruben Amorim. Look at the job he did at Sporting and look at the job he did at Man United. It goes to show it's not the same. It's about what team is moulded around you. And I think if he doesn't have that confidence, he won't go anywhere. I don't think he's going to be that successful outlet Arsenal have, strived for. In recent years, everybody said once Arsenal actually sign a proper striker, that will be their main outlet for goals, and that's how they'll go on to win the title. But they've instead shifted their play towards set pieces. And whilst there's nothing wrong with that, they're more clinical. If you asked who would you think could be more clinical at the moment, is it Gyokeres or set pieces for Arsenal? You would go with set pieces for Arsenal. Right. That's their main outlet. Gyokeres will not be their main outlet. And without him being a main outlet, he won't get them the goals that they need.
No, still can't get the head around that. That's a cracking goal. And I heard it back as well. And someone else said such spectacular goal to kickstart his kind of Arsenal season. I'm thinking, am I literally seeing the same thing? Is it just me? You know, sometimes the way people react with me on X, like I do see a different game. So I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I might need to trick down Specsavers. But I do believe from what other people have been saying, it isn't just me that, you know, thinks that that was a tap in. But nonetheless, with Gyökeres, of course, if you're an Arsenal fan, you've got to be happy for him because, you know, strikers, they need goal. So it's their bread and butter. And it doesn't matter how they come. You've got to be right place, right time. And he certainly was that. So credit to him where credit is due. Cam, coming to you also on Arsenal. Fantastic goal from Zubimendi. I mean, that's just exactly what they're looking for. They are heavily reliant on set pieces, but a goal like that, you know, is spectacular. Fair to say that Robert Sanchez couldn't save that one. But generally, I thought he was, well, it's nothing new, but I think he was great yesterday. I mean, I'm sure it comes from, well, probably previously in Maresca's where it happened a lot, let's be clear. And this also happened in the early days under Liam Reseda. And what I'm talking about is playing out from the back, which leads to errors naturally. So there's so many errors for Tottenham, for example, your club, my club, under Ange Postecoglou previously. It's still leading to errors now. Let's be clear about it and not sugarcoat it as well. But the point is, you know, Robert Sanchez, do Chelsea need an upgrade in this window? If they can't find it, do they need it in the summer? Or is it just a tactical thing coming from the manager? Sometimes go long. And I'm talking about 25 seconds to go. And Robert Sanchez is trying to play this game, I think, how far he can get it over his goal line before it goes in. I mean, what's he doing? Get the ball up the pitch and try and win the game, surely, or try and get something from the game.
Yeah, I think Robert Sanchez has definitely had some bad moments for Chelsea. I mean, I do know that they have some great players. I mean, they had Palmer, Caicedo, Reece. I don't know if it was Reece James or not, but I know Cole Palmer and Caicedo out yesterday. That would have definitely been a big influence in that game. But I think Chelsea fans know by now that Robert Sanchez is a liability in this Chelsea team. In my personal opinion, I also think that. And I think they all know that they've needed a new goalkeeper for some time now, especially some new defenders as well. I mean, while I do rate Chelsea's attack, I also think that, you know, defense comes first in my opinion, and I don't know why Enzo Maresca didn't get that. But I've been hearing that apparently Chelsea are going to get a new defender for Liam Rosenior, which is what Enzo Maresca wanted. Which, you know, I don't really get that. I don't know if there's a manager's welcome gift or not, if you like. But yeah, I mean, Robert Sanchez, I don't really rate him as a great goalkeeper. I think, you know, he came from Brighton. I think that's where half of Chelsea's players come from. But, you know, Caicedo, he was a great buy, but Robert Sanchez, I just don't know if he's up to it. You know, I don't know if he's up to Chelsea's level. And yeah, I don't think he's at that standard of a big club, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much again. Find it difficult, yeah, really hard to disagree with that. Appreciate it. Let's move into then the game week 22 preview. Manchester Derby to start with. Ollie, coming back round to you, Manchester United, since their last game, have appointed Michael Carrick on an interim basis until the end of the year. And reports are coming out, were they? Was it going to be Solskjaer? He clearly, well, from so many different reports, and you know, it makes so much sense, this, by the way, him wanting that United job in his eyes to steady the ship, is what was being thrown around. So firstly, before we get onto the game, do you think that United have made the right decision, you know, not rushing into a permanent appointment and getting someone who knows the club, loves the club, breeds the club in till the end of the year? And do you think they should have gone for Solskjaer, or is Carrick right?
Oh, that's a good question, that actually. To be fair, I spoke to a couple of Middlesbrough fans a little bit about Carrick at when he was at Middlesbrough. I don't know. I think he was here this season. Actually, he got sacked this season or last season. I can't remember. But I think they had a good time with him there up until it kind of fell apart. But there were times that he was doing well there, and I think he'd do well at Man United, even if it is on an interim basis. And I think there's less pressure on the manager because they are there to just sort things out until the end of the season. I think that's what Man United need. They need someone to steady the ship and just take them to some position that's they're probably happy with. I think at the moment they're probably just trying to head somewhere into Europe. I think he's probably a better appointment than Solskjaer. Although I think either of those managers are good as an interim basis. I thought Solskjaer was good as an interim boss quite a few years back. I thought he was, I thought that was he did a good job. It only started to go wrong when he was taken permanently. And with that, I don't think either of these managers should be taken on permanently. I think that is the obvious thing. But I think they will be taking their time and they will employ someone permanently in the summer, which I think is the right thing to do. I know Chelsea did that when they reappointed Lampard on an interim basis a few years back, and he kind of just steadied the ship, and they went on next season to employ Poch, which obviously didn't really work for them, but they did take their time out, and I thought that was the right thing to do, and I think Man United have done equally the same right decision for them.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. The only thing I would say is I don't think Solskjaer's time at the club, even on a permanent basis, was as bad as some people make out. You look at the mess at Man United right now. You look at the mess at Man United last season. I think Solskjaer's done a lot better than that ultimately. And third, he got them. I just don't think he's spoken about enough. He's treated as this guy that kind of, was sinking the ship. And I just think he was, on board the sinking ship rather than controlling the sinking ship, if that makes sense, which is key. But Ollie, thank you very much.
I think it was for him it was difficult because obviously Man United for the last few years have just not been in a good place at all, have they, to be honest? So it is difficult for Solskjaer to bear with and achieve success. And he to be fair to him, yeah, I was probably a bit harsh. Yeah, he did all right, to be fair to him. I'll give him his due.
No, I think you put it across fine. I think there's other people that, think that he's just kind of away from Man United. Most of them are outside of Man United, or a lot of people make a lazy comment as, "Oh, anyone but Ollie," and that kind of thing. And I think, hang on a minute, give this guy a little bit of credit. He loved the club, and I just think it just doesn't get recognised for what he done. I think deep down, United fans probably will, but just from looking at it in an outside point of view, it's just how I feel. But again, what do I know? We don't know what happens behind the scenes. But Ollie, thank you very much. Ben, of course, it's a huge test, to put it lightly, for Michael Carrick in his first game. Walking into a Manchester derby at Old Trafford, of course, naturally is going to be a little bit of expectation. Jimmy Hotspur saying if Radcliffe got it right with the managerial appointment, it'd be the first decision he's got right since rocking up. Fair enough. But what do you think, about this appointment, A, but B, how Man United will get on in the game?
They're a really poorly run football club, aren't they? I think we can all agree. It's very strange. Very, very strange what goes on in that club. Look, I think they had no choice. Until Alonso's come available, which, in my opinion, he will never go to Man United. There's not really anyone out there, is there? A lot of the managers that they consider on their list are in jobs. I don't believe they really do consider the likes of Southgate, etc. I hope they do. Because he's fucking garbage. Do you know what I mean? No, I think with Carrick, they're going down the route of people that they know, who know the ins and outs of Man United, and hopefully that's what they're looking at. Hopefully he can rejuvenate the team. I just think they're a very bad team. Really poorly set up. They've gone top heavy in the summer, and I think it's making them even worse this year. Because let's be honest, the defense, they're terrible at defending. Do you know what I mean? The midfield is very aged. I think he may get the little bounce potentially, but I can't expect it to go on for long, especially when they're coming up against Man City on the weekends. That's a big game. The fans, I'm sure, will be up for it. But certainly when you're going up against the Man City side, they've just got their little bounce off a Semenyo signing coming through the door, who probably is, bouncing through the doors at Old Trafford to get on the pitch and impact the game again. I think this is a big game for Man United. I'd sooner see City win, of course, because obviously I want City to go and catch Arsenal, and I also hate Man United, as you boys were like your rivals. But one thing's for sure, I think this Man United side aren't very good, mate, and they haven't been good for a long, long time. And I think the best thing they've probably done is not jumped to a manager. For instance, I've seen them getting linked with De Zerbi. I think that'd be a terrible choice for them. That just would not work. He's too mouthy, and they've got a few players that can't shut up as well. They, as a club, they need to just sit on their hands for a minute and just assess it for the next couple of months. And let's be honest, they've gone through a lot of managers over the last couple of years. This one's got to be right, because them fans won't accept this, rat race that they're on. So they've got to get it right, and hopefully they get it wrong. I will say.
Love it. You make me laugh. I love it. You say it how it is. Literally, I'm filtered.
You can't hold back, mate. You just can't hold back. You got to be honest about it.
And you're absolutely spot on. I mean, I assume one of the players you're talking about there with Big Mouth is Bruno Fernandes. Of course, loves to have a go at officials. Love to pick his battles. Let's just say, and he certainly picks every single battle. Let me tell you that. But Ben, thank you very much, Louis. On Man City though, feels like a big game for them as well. Of course, being a Manchester derby, state the obvious, but B, they've dropped a lot of points in the league. I know they're in good form at the moment. Semenya's come in, everything will be painted as rosy, but the reality is, in the league, that there's 3 draws in a row. That just, and you're in a title fight, you just can't do that. You just cannot be drawing 3 games in a row. You can have blips here and there, but that is a proper blip in my eyes. Even without losing, that doesn't look good. People are glass half full. City fans would go, yeah, we haven't lost for ages, but I look at that and go, you're not really winning games and you look vulnerable defensively. So they can't afford to drop points. They've got to go to Old Trafford and win, which will be hard in itself.
It will be hard in itself, and it will also be a challenge. I think this is one of those games, I think you summed it up really perfectly for me, is they need to win. That's the truth. They have to win for the sake of, challenging down Arsenal, getting to them. I think Arsenal got quite a tough game this week. They're away at Forest in the evening. Anything can happen in that one. Forest are a relegation team who are fighting to stay up, and it'll be tricky for Arsenal. Sean Dyche won't make it easy, and this could be a really good opportunity for City to catch up, being the early kickoff. I think they'll have Man United. I think they'll look at that game and think they're there for the taking. They're bringing in big confidence, not just from the Exeter game, but more so from the Newcastle game. They were able to come against a tough side at a tough stadium, and they took them on, and they beat them very comfortably, as we just discussed. This will be one where City will just... Pep will have the mindset, if they can beat United, probably their biggest rivals in the league in terms of just rivalry and not league position. If they can beat them, they'll be able to go on a run of form for the next few games heading into the Champions League as well, the back ends of it, and they'll bring that confidence in and keep pushing on Arsenal for the title.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you. Before we move to our next game, and by the way, bigger games like this for this weekend, we'll spend longer talking about, and others we'll just give mini thoughts before and score prediction. But Cam, for this one, of course, it is a big game. How do you think this one will go? Assuming you, of course, will want Man City to win. Being a Tottenham fan, you want City to stay in this fight to the end. I think they're personally fighting again a lost cause, the way they've been playing defensively. But ultimately, as well, I'm going to ask about Semenyo coming in. Of course, will make a difference. Has made a difference already, but he doesn't improve their defense apart from taking the pressure maybe off because their attack's good. So, do you worry for City defensively? Because United, have got a few good attacking players. Of course, some of them are on AFCON, though.
Yeah, I don't worry too much somewhat on City's defence, of course. I think, there's definitely going to be some, concerns about it. But in my opinion, I don't think Man United can capitalise on it. I mean, I don't personally think they can actually get something out of this game. The most I can see them getting out of this game is a draw. And it's at Old Trafford. I mean, if it was at the Etihad, I'd say City are going to win this confidently. But, anything can happen in football at the end of the day. Yeah, I see a comfortable City win, in my opinion. I mean, I already know City's attack is good enough, and they've added Semenyo to that, so it's even greater. But yeah, anything can happen in football. In my opinion, I don't think a new manager bounce is going to come into this game. I see City winning comfortably at Old Trafford. But it is a Manchester derby. Anything can happen, in my opinion. But that's just my thoughts on it. I don't think Man United have, got anything on Man City, to be fair with you. I mean, the fall off that Manchester United have had is absolutely massive compared to the old days. And when I compare United squad to City squad, Man United, I know they've got an interim manager and anything could happen. I mean, at the end of the day, Michael Carrick's goal is just to be getting results, to be honest, till the end of the season. That's really all they need. But yeah, I think City have got this in the bag for sure. And yeah, I think Semenyo's going to bag another one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd argue also Spurs are experiencing a big fall off, not of course the size of Man United, but I think we're falling into that trap where you become unrecognised, lack an identity in the mid-table. Like I'd also argue, I'd go as far as saying that, if not worse. But Cam, kick us off then with your score prediction for the Manchester derby, which is the first game. It feels weird to have a Manchester derby at, was it 12:30? Just feels strange.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not many other cook-offs for the Manchester derby, to be honest. I'm not going to be able to watch this one because I am going to the stadium, the Spurs against West Ham, but I'm going to go with a comfortable 3-1 win for Man City.
Okay, thank you. Routine. back win anyway for Man City, getting back to winning ways. Thank you very much in the league anyway. Louis, score prediction?
I'm going to go nice and simple on this one. 2-0. City.
To City? Yeah, I was going to say, just to start assume. Thank you very much, just to be clear. Ollie?
I'm going to go 2-1 to Man City. I think Man City will get given a game because I think interim or not and everything that's been going on at the club, I think it doesn't come down to league position. It's the derby. Nothing matters apart from the derby. So I think it'll be a tough one, but I think Man City will edge it.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ben, based on what you've been saying, I assume you're back City to win, but give us your score prediction.
Man United win. Nah, I'm only joking. I think City will see this game as, look, regardless of how shit Man United have been, apologies for my language, it's a derby. Anything can happen, do you know what I mean? You know, we've been beaten by Everton and Goodison in our best times, for instance, you know what I mean? I think City 4-1, and I think this will propel City to go after Arsenal, because to go to your rival and win, doesn't matter how bad they're doing, is a big thing. For instance, if Spurs go to the Emirates and win, that propels your season as an example. Do you know what I mean? Whether or not it happened at the minute is a different thing, but City win all day.
I think the aim at the moment is to go to Emirates and try and be in the game and not be men versus boys. Like it is in every London derby. So we get there first, try and be in the same country as them, and then we'll worry about the rest. But Ben, thank you very much. Be on the same planet and same league would be nice. We've got some score predictions here. 2-0 Man City, I would say, says Lil Rang, and Jimmy Hotspur saying 3-1 City. So 2-0, 3-1 City. And Lil saying, I agree. Thank you. Next game then, Sunderland and Crystal Palace. Cam, starting with you, can I get your quick thoughts and score prediction ahead of this one?
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite an easy one for Sunderland. I mean, I know Crystal Palace need a win, but I think the Stadium of Light's just been an absolute fortress this season. They've been very good at home, and they've been very good in general this season, Sunderland. They've got some great players. Granit Xhaka potentially signing of the season, I would say. I mean, for a club like Sunderland, I think that's a great player to have in your team. A great captain, great leader. Palace, I think they've been really poor. I mean, coming off that game against Macclesfield, I don't know how confident they are going to be in this. I think they're going to get a goal, but I'm going to go 2-1 Sunderland.
Okay, thank you very much. 2-1 Sunderland to kick us off. Louis, can I get your thoughts and score prediction?
I don't think this is going to be a very easy game. I think this is going to be very tough for both sides. I mean, they both had moments of lacking confidence. Sunderland, although they're doing very well, their start to the season was their fairy tale moment, and since they have slightly fallen off the wagon, ever so slightly, not by too much. They're not in freefall at all. Palace again. I mean, the fact we just heard there, this might be an easy game for Sunderland against Crystal Palace. This was a side that won the FA Cup last year, and a side that people thought would be fighting the top ends of Europe this year. So to sit here and say that there'll be an easy game against them goes to show how wrong it has gone for Palace. But I think it being at the Stadium will maybe edge it just so much. But I could see this game being very, very close. Maybe a 1-0 or a 2-1, but I'll go with 1-0. Sunderland.
1-0. You keep getting in there before I say it. No. You get it in there. It's all that matters. Better late than never. Hey, thank you very much. Bit like West Ham's chances of surviving. If it could be now, it would be great. Even though you've left it late. But thank you very much, Louis, for that. We'll have to see. Sam will tell. Might come back to bite as so often does. But Ollie, can I get your thoughts as well and score prediction going into this game? I think there's been interesting points made that before a ball's kicked this season, you'd go 3-0 Palace win without any disrespect. You maybe go, okay, it might be a little bit harder being at the Stadium Light, but we think Palace will get over the line. But now I would say Sunderland are the favourites going into it.
Yeah, I'd probably say so. I mean, Sunderland have been great at home. Palace have been quite good away this season, if anything, and not so good at home. So it's a tough game for both sides, as Louis said. And I think it'll be, and obviously with Palace as well, losing to Macclesfield, I think they need to come back to the Premier League with a bit of impact. They need to make a statement that they're not here to be beaten. And they're in the Premier League now. They're not in these same competitions apart from Europe, and they're not here to mess around. So I think they need to get a result. I don't think they'll get a win, but I'd say 1-1. Because I do think Sunderland will, they'll come as they usually are. But as also Louis said, they have dropped off. and Palace are here to also make a statement. So I do think they'll cancel each other out in a 1-1 draw.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to the chat score predictions, can I come to you, Ben, for your thoughts on this one and your score prediction?
Well, we've got to have one mad one, haven't we? I think I've just looked at the league there. Palace win, they go above Sunderland, surprisingly, because I've felt like Palace have
Wow.
been doing bad. I think Mateta's been. I've seen a few clips for some reason. I don't know how Palace stuff ends up on my Twitter, but he looks sharp in the goal in the training video that I seen when he was having shots on goal. And I just think it's these type of games that can catch the newly promoted sides off guard. And I think Glasner, he's got to step up a little bit more. And I think he probably does. I think these can go there and put it on Sunderland. I can see Palace getting that sneaky win because I think Sunderland's confidence is up, and eventually you can have that off day, can't you? Any team can have that off day. I want to go 2-1 Palace because everyone else has gone Sunderland, so I've got to go the other way.
Love it, going different for the sake of it. That's what we love. Thank you very much. So, score predictions on this game then. We've got 1-1 Sunderland. Not sure how that works, but, unless there's a new score invented, but 1-1. I get what you mean. Excuse me there being difficult, but Sunderland 2-1. Liam says, Lil going 3-2. Sunderland, success in my eyes. Barney says 2-1 Sunderland, lost connection. No worries. He goes on to say, not sure what games I missed, but he has given me a score prediction for the Fulham one. It is coming, I promise. So, all of you going for Sunderland to at least get a draw, majority, but one going for the win. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Another London derby then, not the only one. Well, there's quite a few. Actually, this weekend there's 2 or 3 London derbies. This one is the first that we're talking about, but it is between Chelsea and Brentford. Ben, kicking off with you. How do you think this one will go? Because Chelsea played in the week. Will fatigue be a factor? And also your score prediction at the end of it, please.
I think it will be. They tried till the very end yesterday, didn't they? And it's Brentford side that will be coming to try and put a bit of pressure on Chelsea, which they have to. There's a lot being made about obviously Chelsea with the new manager, so it's a quick turnaround. And it's these games in particular this season which have cost Chelsea. They really have. They haven't really been as consistent as they could be. I think Brentford do something here because it's a game that affects the Liverpool game. In my opinion, we need to start creating a bit of a gap. So I'm hoping Brentford could do something. I'm going to spoil the party and go 1-1.
Oh, okay. Not backing a Brentford win, but you're still going for a little bit of a shot. Ben, thank you. And again, sorry to be extremely difficult as you have a drink there, but who would have thought, at the start of the season, we've been saying that Liverpool will be looking over their shoulder or worrying about where Brentford are, right? And I'm not saying this to be difficult, but just when you say it there, I'm just thinking, goodness me, boy, have Brentford done so much better, A, than expected, but B, how far have Liverpool fallen over the summer, which I thought was a really good window. I mean, it's baffling, isn't it, really, if you just think of it like that and without too much context.
It's very interesting, very, very interesting. I'll come to it more on Liverpool, but obviously the Chelsea thing. But well, as I say, Liverpool they're in fourth, so we've got to start creating our gap. And Liverpool and Chelsea play at the same time, and obviously the Man United game as well. So they're in and around it. But I think this is important for their new manager because if he goes and has a bad result, it's not a good start for him, is it?
Not a good start at all. No, not really. Beat Charlton, okay, and at the end of the day, I think Charlton ran it really, weren't they? Let's be honest. Till the
Especially
last,
if they lose to
15,
2
20
London
minutes.
side. If he drops points to Brentford as well, look, Chelsea go through that many managers. They don't cling on to any hope of them anymore. So it's it'll start turning for them already.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Kick us off there with a draw, 1-1. Thank you, Ollie. Can I get your thoughts and score prediction? Who are you going to back in this game?
It's another tough one because obviously no one knows how it's going to go for Chelsea. But I'm feeling quite confident about Chelsea. I think they're going to win 2-0. It's obviously not. Brentford can be quite inconsistent with their form. Some games they look better than others, and some games they also struggle to score in. And I think this could be one of those games where they might get shut out. And I believe Chelsea, obviously, they need to make a point. They need to hit the ground running. And I think they will start against Brentford and they will win 2-0.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. I mean, the big question here is, can Chelsea bounce back from their tiny little setback in the Carabao Cup where, they played okay, but they didn't get the result? Can they keep the momentum, argue with the game before against Charlton when they showed good signs? Or can Brentford continue their fine form? It just wasn't meant to be in so many ways for Brentford. They've just honestly excelled beyond belief, which is, of course, good to see for them if you are a Brentford fan. Louis, can I get your thoughts and score prediction?
I won't make this one too long, but I think again this will be a close game. But I haven't really got the opportunity to speak about it so far. But I personally really like Liam Rosenior. I think he's going to be, contrary to what's been said here, I think he is going to be the right manager for Chelsea, and it's because, for the people who know about him, his play style is very similar to Maresca's, and he's a person who seems, he might be weird with words, but he's very good with what he's saying in terms of managing the squad ability. And I think that's the one problem any manager has faced at Chelsea. They've not been able to get their hands around the squad. They're constantly changing players, sending players here, buying and selling. And sometimes you'll see a post on Twitter and it will be about, oh, this player's left Chelsea. And you thought, who? Who is he? When did he sign for them? They've got that much activity in business. But I think he's going to be the right man for the job, and I've got very good faith in him. I would say this game, similar to what's already been said, Brentford have been struggling in some games. They're quite inconsistent. I'm going to go with a 3-0 Chelsea.
Okay, thank you very much. Shall we get to again this chat score predictions? There's quite a few for this one, so we'll go through them. But Cam, can I get your thoughts and score prediction? Interesting to know which way you'll go with this one, because Chelsea will be confident, I think, going into this game. New manager, new kind of life in the team. But I think Ben's absolutely spot on. What's cost Chelsea so dear this year is home games against teams that they think in their head they're going to win, and it comes back to the whole mentality thing experienced by Tottenham. Let's be clear about that. So which way do you think this one's going to go?
Yeah, I think Chelsea have actually been fairly all right in the big games that they've had. But against, like the Sunderland, I mean, I know they've been good this season, but, Sunderland, I mean, last season against Ipswich is, they lost that one as well as an ongoing issue, not just this season. And actually, the only 8 times that Chelsea have played Brentford, Chelsea have only beaten them once, and that was away from home, so in the cup. So this one, I mean, I know Brentford, they've been inconsistent recently. I do know that they're doing well. They're 5th in the table. I mean, that's amazing for Brentford. But I do also understand that, Liam Rosenior, he needs a win. And, he needs it now if he's, going to be backed by the fans, in my opinion, or at least the doubters. But in my opinion, I don't think he's going to get the win. But I don't think he's going to lose. I'm going to go 2-2.
Thank you, Cam. And briefly sticking with you, if you don't mind. I mean, Liam Rossini's got to sort out this discipline problem, haven't they? I mean, we saw it against Arsenal, players getting booked and moaning. We saw that from Enzo Fernandez at the end, and the coaching staff getting involved. It just, people need to learn, I think. Listen, emotion runs high in football, and so many times, whether it be Shea Lacey if United throws the ball down, I don't like to see that be given as a yellow card. So, yeah, that's where I think the game has gone, and that's, again, been a problem in my lifetime, and often my generation cannot see that. I can. I think the game's absolutely gone. Having said that, when you know that there's this level of strictness, you can't, the officials are better than everyone else. Let's be clear, they paint this picture, and it is so true. Unfortunately, I don't think it should be, but with rules and things like that, you can't, do anything or say anything to an official, some right, some wrong. But the point is, Chelsea know about this. They know that they cannot be flying into tackles as they used to. They cannot be shouting and swearing that they used to. Why are they still doing it? Because it's cost them dear. We talk about these games that Chelsea are losing. 9 times out of 10, they've ended the game with 10 players or less. This is the reason why they're struggling. It's on them. Whether we agree with it or not, it's on them. They know what is coming. That's the thing I argue about clubs. I argue about diving, about offsides, a load of things like this, right? We know how the rules are. They're difficult. They're probably wrong in many ways. But don't start, trying to bend the rules. Don't, pretend you didn't know about these things. So I've gone around the houses, but the point is, Liam Rossini, I'm sure you'll be in agreement with me, has to sort out this issue at Chelsea. Discipline, huge issue.
Yeah, I think there is a huge discipline problem at Chelsea, to be honest, albeit I do believe that, there are a lot of, just nonsense in the Premier League with, like, players fighting after the game, like even Jack Grealish against, I'm pretty sure it's Brentford, where they went down to 9 men, or it might have been Sunderland, I'm not too sure, but Everton went down to 9 men and he waved a yellow card to the referee and he got himself sent off. I mean, it's these little things, that's the difference between, teams performing, in my opinion. And, I think Lim Rosenior's got to sort that out. I think there's quite a few egos in the Chelsea squad, in my opinion. I know they've got some good players, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some egos and there are definitely some, big heads in there, in my opinion, if you like. And yeah, if Liam Rosenior is going to come in here and do well, I think that's definitely something he needs to sort out. And yeah, I'd love to know how he gets on with that.
Totally agree with you. Big egos, and I believe in, if they're going to make a point, you need to, stand by that. And also, you probably do need to name people. I don't like to, but Alex Enzo Fernandez, to me, great player, but comes across as someone that thinks he's better than the rest. Always got a lot to say, and that's not just defending his teammates. He wants to constantly pick a fight and be a real nuisance. But away from Chelsea, people say, "Oh, the game's going." It's gone. The game's literally gone.
The game's never been more gone, genuinely.
It hasn't. No, but seriously, people say it as a joke. I don't mean it as a joke, and it annoys me. It makes me sick to the stomach because you cannot show emotion in football, right? What's the point? If you're annoyed at something, right? How do you show that? But that's the thing. Fans, for me, there's a growing. I'll just make this really brief. It's so important, I think. Fans in football, there's a growing disconnect between the fans in the stands that support the hard-going, working class fan and the players on the pitch. This is because, in fans' eyes, players don't show emotions. It's because they're not allowed to. They can't react. They can't do this. They can't do that without being booked, right? And Jay, whatever you think of Man United, right? I'm not my biggest fan. I'm sure with a lot of other people. Same with other clubs. I'm not the only one. But the point is, when you've got a kid that's working so hard to win the ball back, working so hard, decision doesn't go his way, and he's thrown the ball on the floor. It's gone nowhere. It's delayed nothing. It's literally delayed no seconds at all because there's no player that was going to receive that ball to take the free kick quickly. He's delayed nobody. He's affected nobody. He's hurt nobody. Literally nothing there. Why is that a second yellow card in which he gets sent off? I just do not understand that, because he could come back and, the United player is back from injury that, he's standing in for, and he never gets an opportunity again. And that potentially is a career ruined, at least at Man United, if not more. The point is we can go really far with this, but I just think, can you not show emotion in the game? That's the thing. And we're sitting here, and Cam, for example, right, you're a Spurs fan with me. I mean, big criticism this year, isn't it? It's been about the players don't care. They're not allowed to care. They're not allowed to show emotion without being frowned upon. So I just think that is a huge issue. It's not the players don't care or they don't get it or they don't get derbies. Some players won't get it, of course. I'm not turning a blind eye to that. I think the majority of it is they know they can't say anything. You can't put your hand here. You should be able to put a hand on an opponent. You should be able to stand up to an opponent, I'd argue as well. In a derby, I want to see people, to be honest with you, I want to see physical tackles. I want to see a bit of aggression, a bit of this, a bit that, the other. I'd rather than crack down on diving than tackles. Let me just tell you that. Or waving imaginary yellow cards. Again, hurts nobody, does it? Referee doesn't have to listen and grow up a little bit and ignore the decision. But no, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole for now.
In my opinion, though, I will say, I think the whole standard of officiating in this league is shambolic, in my opinion. I mean, it goes from VAR to the refs. I think the refs, they're too harsh in this league, aren't they? I mean, you'll talk to the referee and get a yellow card. It has to be the captain who speaks to the referee. Even then, the ref ain't listening. And even with VAR as well, there's too much inconsistency that goes on. I mean, one game a decision will get given, the other it won't. And I've seen this in many games. There's been a very similar situation go on in two different games. And the decision-making from the referees and VAR is just so inconsistent, in my opinion. It's ruining the game for me. It's ruining the game. And, as you say, derbies, they're meant to be physical, aren't they? They're meant to be, hard to play in. And I think the referees are, not letting anything go, are they? I mean, when back in, I'd say early 2000s, I'd say, even earlier than that, derbies were, they are hard to play in. They were, proper derbies. You actually wanted to watch them. But now in derbies, it's just all too soft, isn't it? It's just, it's not something, that I want to watch when you have these referees and these VAR or VAR assistants constantly, pushing out very inconsistent decisions.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I think referees are sheep really because they get sent to the monitor, don't they? And they get told, "Oh, your decision's wrong." Well, I'll be thinking, sorry, there's some of the decisions that they've been sent for that I just think it's not clear and obvious. I go, no, have some balls and stick with your decision.
Well,
That's the thing.
in my opinion, I think the referees, when they actually go to their VAR screen, I feel like they almost can't just say, "No, it's my decision. I'm not going to agree with you." I feel like they're kind of almost getting forced most of the time to agree with the VAR because half the time, or more than half the time, when referees go up to the screen, they're always agreeing with VAR, and you know when we watch it as fans, we don't think anything is wrong because, I mean, there is nothing wrong, but you have VAR checks going on for like 5 minutes. It shouldn't be going on like this, should it?
Yeah, it shouldn't. Oh, it will though. That's the problem. That's the ultimate issue. But if I was Spurs manager right now or manager of any club, and I said I don't agree with the referee's decision, boom, instant fine. You can't criticise the official. You can't say you disagree with anything. Then you're painted that there's no passion in the game. Well, I wonder why you cannot say anything. I mean, listen, I've refereed at an incredibly low level and helped out people along with playing, etc. And I'll be like, right, I'm the referee. If you have a problem, come and speak to me. But also, I'm not going to shy away from anything that maybe A, I've done wrong, or B, you disagree with. Come and talk to me about it and we have a conversation. And I hate all this diving, and players are a big problem. Don't get me wrong. The point is, I'm not going to sheep. If someone thinks this is that, I'm not going to listen to them unless they've seen a better view than I have. I just think referees are really easily influenced and they play this, don't, interrogate me game. The other day, just again briefly, a week ago, Jose Mourinho walked over to an official. He got his red card out his pocket before he'd even come to him. He didn't even say anything. He's from a distance. And he turned away and he didn't get the red card. But the point was, why's the red card out for walking? You literally, if I walk towards the referee, Simon Hooper, maybe whoever it may be, Chris Kavanagh, Mike Oliver, it's not the point. I walk up to literally Thomas Frank, whoever it may be, any of the managers on this panel, Areola, Slot, Nuno, whoever it may be, walks up to the official. They shouldn't be punished. They shouldn't be fined. They shouldn't be yellow carded. They shouldn't be red carded. Managers are now watching most games from the stands. So, what has this game come to? Literally, they're in the stands the whole time because they've said something. Okay, really? Right. On this game, the previous game, though, we've got score predictions here. Liam said 3-1 Chelsea, 4-0 Chelsea. We've got here, big guy. I'm not going to read out the last bit. It says Spurs need Brexit. Frank out. Frank is, so-and-so. Barney says 2-0 Chelsea. Jimmy says 2-1 Chelsea. Thiago to score again. Barney said Fulham fan is convinced that his rivals, Chelsea, is their manager anyway, Liam Rosina, will do well. Saying he's got a lot of time for him with being, of course, I forget that ex-Fulham player. I do forget that. I know he played for Hull. Jimmy Hotspur says they got rid of their weakest link and massively improved Frank. Goodness me, more negatives, Spurs fans. But no, fair enough. Jimmy says Bournemouth 2-2, our last game. Barney says massive issue at Chelsea, amount of red cards, absolutely huge issue. But it's enough of me talking for England. The next game, Liverpool and Burnley. Louis, starting with you, brief thoughts on this one and your score prediction. I think it's fair to say that Liverpool will be the favourites to get this win and, propel themselves up the table. And, they need to start creating a gap between the teams behind them. They need to get in a healthier position, secure the position. And this feels like the right game to get 3 points.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've been a really big person to back Burnley this season. I've probably been a massive advocate for them, but not on this one. I like to go for some crazy predictions, but I can't do that on this one. Liverpool, the superior team. I mean, they may have their moments of madness, Liverpool, but I just don't see this being one of them. They're a team in form. They're chasing down. They're clawing back after their monumental amount of losses. I think this will be a simple, classic Burnley style. Don't lose too heavy. Maybe a 2-0. To Liverpool.
Yeah, it does feel like that. Thank you very much. But Cam, at some point, Burnley have got to get results. They don't win many games, so this isn't the game to do it. But generally, don't they? They need to start getting these draws into wins. Can they take anything from this game? Do you back them at all? And whatever your thoughts are, if you can end with your score prediction.
No, I don't think they can really get a result out of this one. I mean, I don't think it's going to be too comfortable for Liverpool. I mean, they haven't been at their best this season, but at the end of the day, they're always going to beat Burnley, aren't they? Especially at home. I know they've had their moments this season, but yeah, for Burnley, I mean, they're 19th in the league. They haven't been able to get really many good results this season. I think they're going to get a goal near the end, but I'm going to go 3-1 to Liverpool.
Still going for a Liverpool win. Thank you very much. Ollie, can I get your thoughts and score prediction? Assume you're also going to back Liverpool to win this one, or can Scott Barker's Burnley side come up with a surprise and come with a fight to Anfield?
Well, the last time I saw Bournemouth Scott Parker's side, they lost 9-0 at Anfield. So I don't see that being I don't see it being a problem for Liverpool when they play. I think Burnley might frustrate them slightly, but I think once Liverpool get one in, I think they'll stick two more in and make it 3-0. I don't think there's much more to say about that. I think comfortable Liverpool win in the end.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ben, can I get your brief thoughts and score prediction as your club host, Scott Parker's Burnley?
Yeah, no, I think it'll be frustrating because I think we can all agree Burnley may as well bring deck chairs because they're not going to be moving out of the box. They're going to be sat in there. And they're going to be holding on for the lives. The problem is with Liverpool, we're not as front-footed as we have been. We have a couple of injuries, kind of shoehorning a few players in. But I think certain players have picked up good form. If Liverpool get Florian Wirtz on the ball all the time, he'll punish them with Ekatike. And I think Jeremy Frimpong's, he's looking in good form. Scored the other night. Great goal, actually. But yeah, no, I think I'm going to go with the same scoreline as Barney. 3-0 Liverpool. But I don't expect it to be as easy as some people may think. We've not been on our best this year for many reasons. But as I say, Liverpool have got to move up the ladder. And as I say, put pressure on the others. So it's a game we can't afford to lose. I know I've gone with the Chelsea draw, but a lot of people expect Chelsea to win. And if Liverpool mess up, that just creates more pressure. Because either team there, if they win, it puts pressure on us. So I'd like to think we'll get the 3 points.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Thank you very much for that. All agreeing there. Another London derby that I was speaking about is the other one, and it's Tottenham and West Ham. We've got both a Tottenham and West Ham fan on, so all covered for this London derby, perfectly planned. Louis, coming to you, of course, you are the opposition. It feels like, you need to stop saying in this type of game, look, we take a draw here and there and start trying to win. So can you give us, as a West Ham fan, your thoughts on this game and your score prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I've already said this to you many times, Harry, but I'll repeat it again because the truth is this is our title to see it. This is our title game. This is, whether we want to admit it or not, this is pretty much our fate of whether we stay up in this league or not. If, as we've already mentioned with Man United, when it comes to a derby, form goes out the window. What's going on with the state of the club goes out the window. It's about fight. It's about the passion for the players, what they've got, what they want to provide to the fans, and what they can do for the squad. I think in our last two matches, we've looked pretty good, even though we lost against Nottingham Forest in one of them. I wouldn't class that as a bad performance. I think we actually played quite well. We got very unlucky with decisions. For me, this is it, right? This is seriously it. We have to win this game. If we don't, I think we are down. As mentioned there, quick comment, do or die for West Ham. I think it's exactly spot on. If we don't win this game, that shows to me as a fan we don't have fight to go into any game this season, whether that's Wolves, Burnley, Arsenal or City. Doesn't matter. If we can't have fight against Spurs, we can't have fight against anyone. Nuno needs to demonstrate that we've got a lot more to us, and so do the players. We've got a whole situation going on with Paqueta at the minute, and I couldn't even tell you from a fan perspective or someone who has inside information that whether he is going to start or not start. Because 1 minute he is and 1 minute he isn't. I think just on Saturday, I don't know why it's a 3 o'clock kickoff to quickly slip that in there. I think that's criminal to put that game at 3 o'clock. But it is. And we need to win. We need to win.
And you're going 1-1, I assume?
I am going 1-1 because I've said that for the last three, but we do really need to win.
For people who don't know, that's because we've done several recordings ahead of this game, of course. The opposition preview is out. Go check that out on YouTube or all major podcast platforms. At Tottenham and West Ham. That's the opposition preview with Lewis and myself, and combined 11 video as well, which will come out, as well as the Spurs podcast after this. Which, bear in mind, I should be very quick because I'm on air in 5 minutes, and everyone's asking where I am already. So stop talking, Harry, and get through it. Thinking out loud there, Cam. Can I get your thoughts of Spurs fan though going into this and your score prediction?
Yeah, I think this is a must-win for both sides, to be honest. I think at home, this is a game where we 100% need to be winning. I mean, as Lewis says, form goes out the window, in my opinion. And, you could argue it's West Ham's cup final. You could argue it's our cup final. I mean, yeah, both sides haven't been amazing either. None of us can find a win at the moment, and home or away, we just can't seem to get anything at the moment. Even at home, when we should be having that home advantage, it's not been helping us at all. It's not been influential at all. I am going to this game though. I haven't been to the stadium in a while, so it'll be good to get over there and hopefully get a win. And hopefully it's a good day. I think we are gonna edge it slightly. I'm not gonna go for a comfortable win, but I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Spurs win.
Cam, thank you very much. Back in your side, we love to see. Ben, can I get your score prediction?
Oh, it is. It's do or die for West Ham, and I think it's do or die for Thomas Frank. I wouldn't like to be Thomas Frank if he doesn't win this game. I think if he doesn't
That'd be
win this
nasty.
game,
He'll have that Arsenal Cup thrown at him. Let's be clear about that. He won't make it out of the
there'll be a
stadium.
lot of stuff thrown at him, put it that way, because you wouldn't be happy because, look, West Ham aren't in good shape. I was just 17th in the league, and it's, surprising how it's been for West Ham this year. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I just think Thomas Frank needs the Spurs players to turn up, and I think they will turn up. Personally, I know you boys think it's a little bit closer. Obviously it'd be good for neutrals to see West Ham have a go, but I think they're going to come up against a Tottenham side that are going to be, they've had a little bit of a bounce with the Johnny Eitinger coming in, who I think will do well. He's good with players. I know he's been at West Ham as well. He's been at Liverpool. He was, when we won the league last year. I do think Spurs turn up personally. West Ham, Spurs cannot lose. For the players' pride, they cannot lose. And that man, I think Thomas Frank will be nearly getting sacked if he gets beat, for instance, on the weekend. And to be honest, I couldn't blame the boards at Spurs if they sacked him after this, because I tell you what, Spurs won't accept that. But I just think it's a little bit. I think West Ham have got to look at the easier games. I know you've got to show fight, but there's show and fight, and then there's going to Spurs and winning. I think that's a different thing. I think Spurs 3-0.
Okay, Ben, thank you very much. You've got 2 minutes to get this done. So if we go for the score predictions now. Ollie, can I get your score predictions for this game before we move on?
I'll give it a 2-2. I think it will be a difficult game for both, and obviously Tottenham haven't been great at home, so I think that will give West Ham the advantage to go and nick a point. But I don't think it'll be a great performance from either team, to be honest.
Ollie, thank you very much for that. And then sticking with you, Ollie, Leeds and Fulham. Score prediction for that one?
Leeds 2, Fulham 1.
Oh, okay, back in a Leeds win. Louis?
I don't have the heart to predict a Leeds win. I'm going to have to try and put my bias aside, but I do think Fulham are really good form right now. I'm going to go with 1-1.
Okay, Fulham fan Barney in the chat going 2-2. Ben?
I was going to go 2-2, but Barney will think I'm copying him because I've gone after a few of the scorelines. I'm going to say 1-1. I think it'll be a tight game, this.
Love it. Yeah, it has a draw written all over it, if you ask me as well. Thank you. Cam, score prediction?
Yeah, I was just going to say this is a 1-1 written all over it, in my opinion. I mean, both teams have been quite good, but yeah, I can't predict the Leeds win. I think Fulham have been quite good this season, so yeah, 1-1.
Thank you. And Cam, sticking with you, Forest and Arsenal. Score prediction for that one at City Ground?
2-1 Forest. I'm not going to predict Arsenal to win. You're not going to see me predicting for Arsenal to win. It's a bold one. It's a bold one. But can Sean Dyche do it? I don't know. I mean, sometimes when you play Sean Dyche's Forest, sometimes just in those moments, they're a difficult team to play at times. I know they went to Anfield and got a result there. I mean, Liverpool haven't been great this season. Arsenal obviously flying, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Forest.
Okay, thank you very much. Louis, can I get your score prediction?
Compared to Cam, I hope they leave their players on the bus, to be honest, for Forest. I can't. If they win, that's us gone, regardless of our result. I think this is going to be Arsenal's. It will be tough. Don't think it'll be an easy game, but I reckon a 2-1, maybe a last-minute winner for Arsenal. 2-1.
Okay, thank you very much. 2-1 Arsenal. Can I get your score prediction, Ollie, for this one?
2-0 Arsenal, I think. I think it will be. I think again Forest will frustrate Arsenal, but Arsenal will nick 2 goals and go away with the 3 points, I reckon.
Okay. No, I think it's fair to say it's expected. Ben, can I get yours, please?
I think the downfall of Arsenal start to kick in the league, conceding goals.
Oh.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Palace set piece right at the ends. Forest, sorry, Palace.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, Palace, beating Arsenal. Hopefully, if they got to play them soon. Wolves and Newcastle. Then Ben, sticking with you. I don't think this one will attract much interest. Can Wolves keep up their good form in 2026? If you can give us your score prediction.
It'd be interesting this game. I think a draw. I'm going to go 2-2. I think there's goals in this game. I like that kid, and Liverpool like that kid. That Wolves, that Mane looks a cracking talent. Him. Newcastle are hot and cold. I think there's goals in this game, but I can see a draw.
Okay. What score are you going to go with when you say draw?
2-2.
Oh, okay, interesting. Thank you, Ollie.
As Ben says, Newcastle a bit hot and cold, but I think they'll win 2-0. I think they'll get away. I don't think they'll have the greatest performance ever, but I think they'll get the 3 points, to be honest.
Okay, thank you very much, Cam.
Yeah, I
Cool.
think Newcastle are going to win this one. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable win. I think they're going to go 2-0 up. I think Wolves going to get a goal back, and I think they're going to struggle similar to that Burnley game, albeit they did get a goal at the end, but I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle.
I think that's fair to say. Cam, thank you. Louis?
I'm with Ben on this one. I think this is going to be Wolves. He went for a draw. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Wolves win. I think they're back, and I think they're here with a fight, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on Eddie Howe. I think Wolves will win 2-1.
Interesting. I think, I think you could be right with that one. Villa and Everton then, Louis, sticking with you. Score prediction for this one.
Moyes doesn't like coming into the new year, and Villa are on good form. You put those two in combination, I reckon this is going to be an ugly one. I'll go with a 3-0 Villa.
3-0 Villa. Thank you, Cam.
I'm going to one-up Lewis. I'm going to go 4-0 Villa.
Oh, 4-0 Villa. Okay. Ben?
I think 3-1 Villa. I think Everton are finding it tough. Up and down. That new ground's affected them. I think Villa have got good form in them, so I think 3-1.
Thank you. And Ollie, before we move on to the final game?
2-1 Villa, I reckon.
Good stuff. Ollie, sticking with you. Brighton and Bournemouth then. Which way do you think it's going to go? Of course, I've asked you first being a Bournemouth fan, so if you want to give us your 30-second thoughts and your score prediction.
Oh, I don't really know, to be honest. It's a difficult one. There's always goals in this game, and we always get given a really weird kickoff time for Brighton Bournemouth. But obviously, Brighton are a bit hot and cold. They've been a bit inconsistent. They've won some big games and they've lost some of the easier ones. I think we'll frustrate them, but I think it'll probably be a draw. I reckon 1-1.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your honesty. Ben, what do you reckon?
Interesting game. I'm going to go for a draw, 1-1.
Okay, thank you, Louis.
Sorry, I was
What
on
do you
mute. I reckon
that's
this
all
will be I think this is going to be Bournemouth. They're going to pick up some form. Brighton have been topsy-turvy. Yeah, there we go. I'll be nice to someone on the pod. I'll go with a... You don't like low-scoring games, Bournemouth. I'll go with a 3-2 Bournemouth win.
Great stuff. Thank you, Cam, to end.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth had some really entertaining games this season. I think this one I'm going to go 2-2 Monday Night Football Classic.
Okay, thank you. Big thank you to all my fantastic 4 guests. It's been a great episode of the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. I'm in trouble with myself because I'm meant to be on the Spurs podcast now. So literally within 60 seconds of finishing this, less than that, immediately we'll be on air. But very quickly, and go around to you all and see whether you can follow you on social media. Thank you for your time. Ben, drop your socials, my friend.
I say, well, there's me Twitter handle there, and obviously the podcast. But look, don't worry about me. Get involved and support Harry. Make sure you like and subscribe. Doing a lot of content, and as I say, it's hard work. So, I understand what it's like, and make sure everyone subscribes, and everyone else, make sure you follow all the boys on here.
Great stuff. Thank you, Ben. Always great to have you on. Let me tell you that. Thank you. Ollie, great to have you on as well. As a recent regular along with Ben, fantastic additions to be strengthen, regular strengthen the panels getting into 2026. Honestly, I'm not saying that. I mean that, which is great. Better representation around the Premier League and better quality of guests. But where can people follow you on the socials?
Yes, my handle was the one in black, just simply AFCB. Simple as it comes. But yeah, make sure you support the podcast. And yeah, it's been a pleasure once again.
No, pleasure is mine, honestly. Ollie, thank you. Louis, of course, I mean, don't need to say it to you anymore. It's a pleasure to have you on. Matt, stuff that we've done this week, I think that's fairly obvious. You probably bored of me, though. But where can people follow you on the socials?
Nah, never bored. I got to make the most of these Prem podcasts while I can. Maybe I can get another season. Who knows? I'm on borrowed time. But anyway, yeah, my handle's there on X. I love the podcast as always. Shame this one's had to be a little bit sped up because of the schedule, but still enjoyable as always.
You can blame me. Yeah, we'll be fine. No, Harry, stop talking. Thank you, though, very, very much. Cam, thank you as well. Of course, you're on air with me, like with Louis, in just a second. Louis joined a little bit later for the West Ham preview. So, sorry to give you no break in between as planned. But where do people follow you on the socials?
Yeah, in the blue blocks. I've got a Twitter page called THFC_Cam. Pretty much just tweet about football, Spurs, pretty much anything regarding football, to be honest. Glad to be back on there again, though. And yeah, thank you for inviting me back.
No worries. Thank you. Follow all my fabulous guests. Thank you for watching this episode of the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. We'll be back Tuesday to review Game Week 22 and preview Game Week 23. For now, thank you so much.